question is that the motion that has been accorded priority as moved by the member for Swansea be agreed to. I call the member for Swansea in reply.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, with respect, I submit that we've heard a lot about climate change here today, but very little about a carbon tax. Mr Deputy Speaker, I support the priority motion that this House opposes the Gillard government's carbon tax, which will hurt New South Wales families and businesses. Mr Deputy Speaker, I believe that I'm able to speak on behalf of, as I said before, these 400 people on this list who are actually coal miners and who live in my electorate. I believe that I can speak on behalf of Wayne Anthony Price of Chain Valley Bay. I believe I can speak on behalf of Ian Andrew Carr of Mannering Park, Paul Turner of Summerland Point, Kenneth Mark Wilson of Budgewoi, Thomas Stephen McKenna of Buff Point, Brian Jerd of Doyleson. The list goes on and on and on, Mr Deputy Speaker. All of these people run the risk of finishing up on a carbon tax scrap heap. Absolutely. Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker. You need to apologise. It is a reality, Mr Deputy Speaker, that this carbon tax will lead to a loss of jobs, the closure of businesses in this country. Overseas markets that Australia has will very rapidly find new sources of product through places such as South America, Indonesia, Africa. More people out of work, more people on the dole queues, more families ripped apart, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, and for those reasons, I implore this House to accord this motion with priority. Mr Acting Speaker, I go back to my own electorate and to the Hunter. 18,500 jobs lost across the Hunter. And my colleague and friend over here, the member for Cessnock, well, Mr Deputy Speaker, you know, I mean, where do these people stand on this? It's just unbelievable that such an insidious tax could be levied against the people of Australia, and when it's well known the impacts that it's going to have on families and business, Mr Acting Speaker. Mr Acting Speaker, you know, we've covered everything that we can possibly cover, the loss of productivity in specific areas, coal-fired generators, aluminium smelters, the diminution of the growth in the overall coal mining industry, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, this is a most frustrating exercise. It is blatantly obvious that this is one tax that never, ever should be introduced in this country, and I quote, Mr Acting Speaker. Monday the 16th of August 2010, from the now Prime Minister. There will be no carbon tax under a government I lead. August 2010. The Treasurer Wayne Swan on Meet the Press. Certainly what we reject is this hysterical allegation that somehow we are moving towards a carbon tax. We reject that. Again, the Treasurer Wayne Swan on the 7:30 report. We have made our position clear. We have ruled it, the carbon tax, out. Former Labor member, Minister Della Bosca, I think the carbon tax is a mistake. It's the craziest thing Gillard, could have done. Former New South Wales Premier Yemmer, one thing is for sure, it won't change the world, but it could change the government. Yes, we should take action, but we should not get so far out in front that we injure ourselves. Mr Acting Speaker, I submit this motion to the House for priority. I thank you.